So I just watched a documentary about a man falling in love with an octopus, and it has inspired me to make a video about less unholy combinations. Specifically, the combinations between chords and single notes that you can add, right? So we're just going to do kind of like an absolute beginner way that you can add different notes to chords that maybe you already know, okay? So we're going to do this in the key of C. We're going to do this fingerstyle wise, and the main chords in the key of C are C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and A minor, alright? Now, all of these different chords are built from the C major scale, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now, I think it's really important to kind of like learn in this open position where those notes are. I have other videos on that, but I want to focus in on just a few of them, right? Because I think thinking through an entire scale sometimes can be daunting because, you know, you have all these different options on different strings. I really want to simplify it to just these strings right here. Just 2 notes each on the G string and the B string. Open 2 on the G string, open 3 on the B string, okay? So, the names of these notes are G, A, B, and D, alright? Now we can add these to any of those chords, right? The very first thing I want to do is just take the root note or bass note of some of these chords and start playing around with these different notes, alright? So I'm going to think of just the root notes on the E and the A string, alright? So open 1, 3 on the low E string, and we'll just go open 3 on the A string. E, F, G, A, C, okay? You're going to encounter these in different keys besides just the key of C. But it's really good to kind of just think of these as their own thing right now. Open 1, 3, open 3. And then we're going to add open 2, open 3 to each of those notes. Alright? So, I'm going to play this fingerstyle. I think it's important to kind of have some fingerstyle chops under your belt, right? So basically my pointer finger is grabbing the G string right here, and my middle finger is grabbing the B string. If you want to, you can use your pointer finger for both of them, but I'm gonna be just kind of plucking into each of those, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a very simple pattern where we just go every other. Right now, I'm just gonna start on my thumb, hitting the open E string, and then in between, like a steady pulse of that, I'm gonna throw one of those 4 notes in between, right? It's gonna sound like this. Okay? So, you know, we're really just taking a couple notes from a scale and doing them over a different bass note, but it sounds a little bit more musical than just maybe going through a scale or something like that, especially once we start getting other bass notes into it, right? So let's go from there, the open E string, to the first fret on the E string in F. Alright, and it might be a little bit more difficult to do the F because one thing about doing this exercise is that it kind of forces your fretting hand to really stretch out and get a clean sound. And eventually, as you become more advanced as a player, your hands are just gonna have almost like a sixth sense about just finding the right hand shape to do certain things, right? Like if you're in this F position, you can add different chords to this. Like this is over like an F major 7, and then I'm just adding that B string. But eventually your hand is just gonna always find the right spot. So this is a good example of trying. See right there, I'm using my pinky instead of maybe using my ring finger just because that seems unnatural, like kind of harder to do. But we can do the same thing going forward to just the G on the low E string, right? Alright, so again what I'm doing, every other note, I'm just going through open 2, open 3 on the G and B string, and then going back and forth between that bass note. So here's a G to another G, a G to an A G, a B, a G, and a D, and then backwards. You can even kind of like add a combination of both of those. Like I'm using my pointer finger and my middle finger to play them both at the same time now. Okay, and now it's almost like I'm playing a little bit of a chord melody. And it's all coming just from going back and forth between those. Then we can switch to the A string. Remember, we're gonna have open A and then 3A. So open A, open G, 2G, open B, 3B, then maybe to the 3rd fret on the A string. Okay? And then once you have that down, you're really gonna find yourself developing a familiarity with either your thumb on the low bass strings or your pointer finger and your middle finger, just kind of in like the higher parts of the chord, right? So eventually it'll lead to playing kind of like more interesting ways to kind of put a melody on top of a chord. And I think that's like a really important distinction to make, because when I first started playing guitar, I was like, all right, well, I know these chord shapes, G, but they're always just static. They're always the same chords over and over again. And I think once you kind of just add a little bit of variety, it really makes a huge step musicality-wise in your playing, right? So we're just picking a few of these different things. You can switch them up back and forth because most chord progressions aren't going to go in order like E to F to G to A to C. Maybe let's start on C and do that pattern. To G. To E. Back to G. So that'd be a C to G to E minor to G progression, which, you know, might sound a lot different than but I'm really just kind of adding those little notes that I've focused in on to them. Now, again, I think it's really also important to understand that there are more than just these notes. Right? We're just focusing in on 4 of them. There's 7 notes in a scale. So if you want to start maybe combining all of them, it would be like E, F, G, open 1, 3, open 2, 3, open 2, 3, open 2, open 1, 3, open 1, 3, and then maybe kind of just focusing on a few new ones each time you do it, right? Get a few of them under your belt, and then start adding on to the rest of them. That's why if you're interested in more teaching like this, you can go to my Patreon page, because I have like an absolute beginner, just like a whole series of lessons kind of taking you through in order, which again, a lot of times these YouTube videos might seem scattered because it's always like a different thing skill-wise. But I definitely think that the sooner you start thinking about taking melody notes and adding them onto bass notes or onto chords, the better you're going to get musically, and the better it's really going to train your ears to kind of go up and down a scale, right? So really just kind of like, we can even take the high E string, let's just add open 3 to it, and then maybe add it to something like that, right? So I know that 3 open on the high E and B string. Let's add that to a G note. I'm just gonna do this with just my pointer finger. Right? I can do that with an open E. To a C. Maybe a B, the 2nd fret. Right? And maybe if I want to add that to fuller chords, I can strum them like a... Right? And that's a much different sound than a... There's really a million different ways that you can do this, but the sooner you can start to see the fretboard as maybe some of the melody notes on top and how they interact with some of the lower bass notes on the bottom, the better off you're going to be. So if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.